What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of The Ring Report. Myself, Max, WrestleManiac, and I'm alongside my bro, Del Tevic, and we have a lot to talk about. We had AEW Full Gear last night. AEW, one of their original flagship pay-per-views, and what a pay-per-view they gave us. It threw up a lot of unpredictable results. And yeah, I think a lot of people have had a good time with it. And if you haven't had a good time, there's a lot of conversation to have. And if you haven't had a good time, then it's time to join the conversation right here at the Ring Report. Del, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. I woke up extra early for work this morning, and it was painful after watching Full Gear. I'll be honest. But yeah, man, what a show! What a show! Plenty to get into. Like you said, a lot of surprises in there. A few things that I think myself and you might have actually been quite happy by, despite a bit of the wrestling internet wrestling community being quite disgruntled at, bro. So yeah, man, excited to get into it. But yeah, man, let's go.
Nice. Well, before we do, guys, you know everything you need to do. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the like button as well. Hit the hype button if you're watching it on your mobile. A new YouTube feature, apparently. And if you're listening on your podcast platform of choice, make sure you leave us with a 5-star review. If it ain't 5 stars, we don't want it. Leave the 5-star reviews and we'll crack on with today's review. So, AEW Full Gear 2025, it is in the books. New champions up and down the card, interesting outcomes. Let's get into this review.
Yeah, man, we got to start Pac versus Darby Allin, bro. I think that is the best place for us to start. What a match. And I think I'm eager to get your thoughts on this, but what I want to say first is that Pac, boy, can he sell a match. He can really get under the fan skin. And I think for me, he's got to be the next leader of the Death Riders. Like, simple as that. And that is I think that's the place we have to start next. So eager to get your thoughts on it, man. So yeah, I'll give the floor to you. What were your thoughts on this match, bro?
I was having fun with this match. I actually predicted Darby Allin to get the win. So I was quite disappointed in the ending with Pac after saying that, I'm not going to get anyone else involved and all of this kind of stuff. He ultimately got a Death Rider involved. In Wheeler Yuta that kind of helped cause a distraction, and obviously he smashed Darby Allin with a bat to get the win. However, it looks like something's happening with Pac. It definitely looks like they are building him into, like you say, maybe a position of authority within the Death Riders, since it looks like someone else is losing their grip on themselves and what they stand for. But yeah, I think, like I said, I just thought with Darby Allin going through the flaming table and all, and I thought Pac would be a man of his word. I thought Darby Allin would get the win. So again, I wasn't like upset or not effing and blinding because my prediction didn't come true. It's just I just thought that was where the story was gonna go. But Death Riders always keep someone tucked in the pocket, sort of thing. And Wheeler Yuta was the guy that came out and helped this time round.
Why do you listen to when the Death Rider said they're not going to bring people up, bro? I think that's more on yourself, bro. You know what these guys are about, man.
Sure.
They've proven time and time again that they're literally happy to do anything to get the job done at the end of the day. So I think, for me personally, I think Darby's next big match, he's desperate for a win. That's what I will say on that. I do agree with you. I actually predicted Darby to get the win myself as well, but I was happy with Pat getting a W because he did the thing that Jon Moxley couldn't do at the end of the day. Regardless of how he got it done, he managed to get the job done at the end of the day, bro. And I think they're building him into something. And I think what's really fun about this story is there's 5-6 different layers from each angles of the Death Riders, and this is just one of them. And we'll get into the rest of it a bit later on. But yeah, man, I was extremely impressed with the way in which they've really started to build Pac, because he's someone who hasn't always been sort of booked in the perfect way. It's been a bit stop and start with him in AEW. He gets to a certain point and then he drops down the card, goes missing for a bit, comes back. But this now really seems like we're at a time where he can really essentially be given the keys to the Death Riders house and be the lead tenant on there. And yeah, man, like I said, I I'm excited for what the future holds with the Death Riders. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be with a certain someone else in charge. I think the man to be in charge is Pat.
To your point, Pac 100% has had a very stop-start run in AEW over the last 6 years. A lot of people have said it's because he's still living back home in Newcastle, and he's only here for when he's booked and all of this kind of stuff. Like, it's been very frustrating because I feel like when AEW started, Pac was almost painted as a figure that was going to come in at world title level. I remember the first ever press conference. He came to the press conference in his ring attire, in his trunks, and nothing else outside in Jacksonville, doing what Pac does, completely topless in his pants. And they almost put him there. They put Hangman Adam Page there. These were the first couple names that they announced as signings for AEW. Like I say, kind of figuring him as someone that would, be a cornerstone of the company. And we haven't seen it for 6 years. But now, in almost his repackaged and new presentation, like you're saying, he's almost kind of climbing the ranks within the Death Riders. Other people aren't getting the job done. Pac's getting the job done. So I'm interested to see, well, if you're going to give him a win over someone as revered as Darby Allin, then something is cooking here, and I want to see what that is. You got so chats shush movement. He says Full Gear was class. He actually says, nah, got Claudio as the next leader. I don't see it. I see him more as a foot soldier, an amazing foot soldier. I don't see leader quality in him. He says he sees Pac as second or third in command. Interesting. I think we've both said if there is going to be a new leader, I think we said Pac. I think Gabe Kidd, even as like an outside person that can come in. Claudio, I don't personally see. I see him as someone that would stay loyal to Moxley as opposed to overthrow Moxley.
I think he's going to be the first person they turn on after Moxley, to be honest with you. I think that's the route they go. Because if you're looking at the sort of the whole presentation of the Death Riders, if I'm looking at them, if after Moxley goes, the sort of the last one standing of, say, the old guard would be someone like a Claudio. Because the rest of the people that would be there would be someone who's still relatively young in the game, despite their like extensive experience like Pac. But then I'm looking at Daniel Garcia. I'm looking at Wheeler Yuta. I'm looking at Gabe Kidd. And these are all people who I think will be predominant stars within AEW or elsewhere for the foreseeable future. So I think if there's anyone they're going to turn on after, I feel like here's how I would, if I am in that booking room, I have them all turn on John Moxley. Moxley's written off TV. Claudio cost them, say, a tag team title match, a trios title match, something along those lines. He then gets turned on and he goes. I think you then have Moxley and Claudio come back as faces together. Because I think they're two very people that it could potentially work that way. But yeah, I'm just excited for what these four youngsters can do, man. Because like we've both said about Pac, he's someone who that they've barely got into second or third gear, no pun intended with that. And I think I'm looking at, like we've said about Daniel Garcia, and I think you guys said it on Wrestling's, this was almost his last chance, and it seems to be working with him now within the Death Riders. So I think you've got all of these young people who have got, like I said, who I believe will be predominant stars within the wrestling world for the next, I'd say, 10 to 15 years. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time ahead. I don't think Claudio is going to be the person to be taking over the Death Riders. I don't see him. I barely see him potentially winning another title in AEW.
Yeah, I hear that. He's great. Like even him coming out during the Casino Gauntlet, like just the noise of the crowd. It's like, oh my god, this ominous figure is now emerging from the back. Like he's great in his role. They've tried to kind of put a quote unquote top title on him when they made him the Ring of Honor World Champion. Didn't really do much of anything.
No.
Good matches is what you can get. Great kind of stoic physique, and just great kind of in-ring stuff. But he's limited in that respect. But I guess to kind of justify his move from WWE to AEW, you could probably say his presentation in AEW is a lot better. It's a lot stronger. Um, but yeah, man, I feel like Pac, there is something bubbling. There is 100% something bubbling with Pac. It may not be a whole leadership. It may be him winning a title, but another, obviously we'll talk about Moxley very soon. Pac and others got to start thinking about what's going on in this Death Riders group, man. It's as simple as that.
No, I agree with that, man. I think it's one of those things where I think someone said it online, and it was almost like they had 6 different presentations of the Death Riders across the Full Gear card. And I think the person who actually looked the weakest is the man we're going to get onto later, John Moxley. And I think that's the exact way in which they wanted it to be played out. And I think it was executed to perfection. It's now the time where I think what would be really great if they were all essentially gunning for the leadership. And it's almost like who can get the job done, who can bring a title to the Death Riders. I think that would be quite a fun way for them to for it to play out. But yeah, man, I've been thoroughly impressed with like the in-ring style of Pac for many years. His in-ring ability has never been in question. It's just about his presentation and sort of how they can build from that. So yeah, man, it all depends how the next few months goes. And I think as we head into 2026, like I said, if I'm a betting man, so if there's a way I can bet on him to become the new leader of the Death Riders, that's where my money will be going, bro.
I hear it. And he's not finished with Darby Allin. Darby Allin will come back around. They will have I think it'll be a third installment. I think they fought very early in AEW, and Darby got the win over Pac. Pac's obviously got the win on the night here at Full Gear. So a third installment is definitely pending between these two. But yeah, he's definitely throwing his name into the hat.
No, and like I said, I think once they finish off that third installment, I think that's when they move on to different parts, just the pair of them. I think it'll be exciting to see sort of how they redeem Darby from this as well. I think that's because they've essentially booked themselves into a corner. They're making Darby look extremely weak again. It's no secret the stuff that guy puts his body through, flaming tables, getting essentially launched 20, 30 yards like into tables and whatever else. And yeah, him self-care and self-preservation, it doesn't fall under the Darby Allin character at all. But bro, yeah, man, I'm impressed with the both of them following that match. And I think it just pushes that extra bit of heat onto Wheeler Yuta as well, which I think is also great. But I want to talk about this next match because, first of all, one of the greatest names in tag team names in wrestling, the Timeless Love Bombs, managed to get the W with this one. With Tony and Mina managing to defeat Willow and Harley Cameron. You got the Sisters of Sin and Julia Hart Sky Blue, and 2 women who I am just following on from the Bloods and Guts match very recently, Megan Bain and Marina Shafir, man. The women really seem to be, I think you said it when it's not an AEW related, but with WWE, they said it on Unreal, how much women just listen when it comes to wrestling. They take advice on board. And I think this was just another example of the women are blessed within this division, because there is just so many other great women in there. So yeah, man, I wanted to get your thoughts on this one before giving my 20 pence on it, man.
Yeah, man. They're smashing it right now, man. They honestly are. They're all working in tandem. Obviously, this is just a nothing match, really, just to get them on the card. But like, they're using it to build towards their tag team tournament that they've got ongoing right now. Tony and Mina, they remain the tournament favorites. I was surprised they got the win here, because I thought, as tournament favorites, as people are probably going to win it, do they need to then get the stipulation? Obviously, with winning this match, you pick the stipulation of your next round. Unless they are going to pick the stipulation and lose to one of the heel teams. Now, I think, on the top of my head, they are facing Megan Bain and Marina Shafir next. And if they pick something like, let's say, a no DQ match, then they could very well lose that to those 2 characters. If they they might do something nonsensical here because of who they are, and I don't know. I don't want to say something that might sound demeaning, but they might do like a mud fight or some crap like that. I don't know, like because it's Tony Storm in it, so
Yeah.
you never really know what she's gonna come up with. But I think if they go like some type of no DQ route or a hardcore route, they could be in trouble.
Mm.
Um, I actually predicted Willow and Harley Cameron to win this match for that reason. I thought a face team would win. They'll pick the stipulation and then they'll lose the match. So along that line of thought, Tony and Mina might still be in trouble against Megan Bain and Marina Shafir, who are credible people as well to lose to. But it was a good match. It was a nice, fun match. Tony and Mina, like you said, just a bundle of fun, really, and everyone's enjoying them now. I still think they'll win the tournament and win the titles.
I think this cemented for me that they're not winning the tournament. I agree with your point there. I think Megan Bain and Marina Shafir are going to be the ones to win this tournament now. I think
Really?
following on, yeah, I think following on, I think it here. I think we started to see the shift after Bloods and Guts. That's when I think the shift has happened, and I think they've acted on it. I think before then, I think no one could really argue with Tony and Mina winning this tournament. But following on from that, I think just the way in which Megan and Marina were being booked, um, I think it would just be. Here's the thing for me. I think it would be too easy to put the titles on Tony and Mina. I think they would be great first champions, and I think they would do absolutely amazing stuff. But I think it would be much better to have the Hill champions win the inaugural titles, and then I think Tony and Mina to chase them and eventually win the titles from them. I think that's a far greater story than because I think if Megan and Marina were to lose in the semi-finals, I think it could potentially deflate their how things are going with them. It's hard to say because here's the thing: there's four very talented teams of women within this match, so it's like everyone could essentially plead their case for why they should be the winners. But yeah, I think they're now at a point where they're booking Megan Bain at like such like they're booking her essentially like this almost like this powerful goddess in a way, and Marina Shafir like we talking recently about how you wouldn't want to meet someone like Brock Lesnar in a grocery store. If we're looking at the female side of that of women I wouldn't want to push in front of in a grocery store, Marina Shafir is very, very top of that list, man.
Shafir is coming into her own, man. She's really doing some good work, and she's been bubbling away nicely in Ring of Honor for quite some time now. But it's kind of all putting it together and getting opportunities on the AEW main roster, if you like, the main shows, collisions, and the dynamites and stuff like that. She's been an integral part to the Death Riders Act, Moxley's kind of right hand sort of thing. So yeah, it's all coming together. Shush movement says here, I honestly see Marina being women's champion in the next year. I, it's one of them ones where I don't see this happening. But if they done it in a way where she was champion and like Moxley was her manager, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Moxley's now her right hand, kind of coaching her through it and, giving her all the advice during the matches, slipping her a screwdriver or a fork or whatever the case is. Like, it makes sense. But I think that's the beauty of it. She doesn't need to become women's champion to kind of justify the performances and stuff she's putting in right now, sort of thing. She could just be like a threatening person in the division, which she has become. My only thing is that Megan and Penelope Ford are obviously the actual tag team here, and Penelope Ford is injured, and Marina Shafir has stepped in. So the question is, does long term, this is good experience for Marina Shafir, but long term, do AEW still want to do Penelope Ford and Megan Bain? If so, then these guys can lose in this tournament, Shafir and Bain, and then we get rid of Shafir back into her own kind of singles position. And then when Penelope's back, we push her back into the tag team and then pull the trigger on Penelope and Megan Bain. Potentially. It just depends how they see it. I see this as good experience for Marina Shafir, being alongside someone like Megan Bain and, doing what they're doing, getting the outings on TV. But AEW may see it differently. But I'm going to stick with Tony and Mina to win the titles for now. But let's see what the stipulation is that they pick.
I'm excited that more than the results of this entire tournament. I'm just excited to hear that stipulation, just because me and Tony saw this. It's like
Just because it's
anything can happen, isn't it? Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Well, very quickly, what I will say on that match before we move into the next match, mate. I think the way they play this out is Megan and Marina end up winning the tournament, and I think they end up essentially kicking Marina out with Marina, because then that would push her onto a lining with Moxley in the end, and then she could go on a singles run. And I think this is the perfect experience before she goes on that singles run. Being alongside someone like Megan Bain, having Penelope Ford involved in the storyline too, I think will only add more fuel to the fire. So yeah, man, I'm excited for not just these 2 or 3 women, but for the women's division as a whole, because like we both said, they're knocking it out of the park at the moment, and they don't seem to be doing anything wrong. And like I said, a match full of very, very talented women. But yeah, excited for how the next, say, 6 months looks within the women's division, because I think there's going to be a lot of surprises in there, man.
Yeah. Honestly, the division has come a long way, like a long way. But they're gonna crown these tag team champions. Then there's other stuff still to be done and accomplished, which we'll get onto later on in this card. But yeah, the women's division is cooking right now. Honestly, they've done a really good job.
But onto the conversation of the men's tag team titles. Brodido versus FTR. To me, not a very shocking result at all. With FTR taking the win, not a very shocking result at all. I think we both predicted Brodido to lose the tag titles, the last tag team match they had. But do I wish it was another tag team rather than FTR? I think I probably do. I think there's just a lot of talented tag teams out there that those titles probably could have gone to. But again, someone that we've spoken about recently is essentially like a Samoa Joe. When you want to hit the panic button and put a title on someone, you put them on someone like a Samoa Joe. And I think FTR are that type of tag team where sometimes when there's no other teams to sort of take those titles from them, I think FTR are just the choice to go to until they move on to the next team.
Yeah, I definitely understand your panic button analogy. I would say FTR could comfortably fit into like that box. Just more so, just because they are reliable. If there isn't anybody else that's built up that we think is ready to kind of bear the cross of being a champion, like we said with Samoa Joe a couple of weeks ago, then yeah, FTR as well fit that mold that can take it on and kind of transition it onto whoever the next people would be. And that's exactly what I think this is all about. Like when I went into this looking at the card, I said FTR are going to win because I think Christian and Edge, Copeland, they're going to be back soon, and that's the play. They're the real champions in waiting, and FTR are almost the transitional champions, if you like. There's a lot of history between FTR and Copeland Christian on screen. The history of them off screen with FTR training these guys to get them back into wrestling following their retirements. So FTR had to be champions at some point to drop the titles to their best friends, really, like in wrestling, like Edge and Christian. So yeah, the minute I thought, yeah, these guys are going to be back soon, FTR will win it. And Brodido have had a great run. I don't think anyone expected Brodido to be as over as they did. 2 single stars put together that both needed it. Brody King was lost following Malachi Black, Aleister Black returning to WWE. What's his face? Buddy Matthews got injured. Brodido was left doing nothing. Even her face? Julia Hart went off with Sky Blue. Like Brody King was left doing nothing. So to find Bandido, and form Brodido, it's been a really, really good move for them both. And hopefully, if they think they need to stick around as a tag team for a bit longer to, just keep the division alive, then cool. But as single stars, I want to see more for both of them guys. I'd love to see them both as single stars in the Continental Classic. Obviously starting next week, but in the next few weeks. But yeah, this was all to facilitate the Cope and Christian match. Yeah, Shush Movement, I guess, agrees here. He thinks it will happen at World's End, which is next month. Maybe. I don't know if it will happen that soon, but maybe. But yeah,
I think they save it for a bit. I think that's a match you save for a bigger pay-per-view, man.
I think Revolution, which
Hmm.
will be in February, but Revolution is seemingly like their big pay-per-view. They always seem to go big with Revolutions. Maybe it's because it's the first pay-per-view of the year. Yeah, I think that could probably be a Revolution match as opposed to World's End next month. But we'll see.
I think they'll return in that time. Don't get me wrong. I think they'll return in that time, potentially on a Dynamite, or they might have a tag team title match against someone. They cheat to win that match. They're beating down on them, and you hear Edge and Christian come out. I think that's where you get the pop, and then they tell them, "Look, Revolution, we have this match." I think that's the way to play it, because I think in the nicest way, I think it would be a waste. I think it would be a waste at World's End.
Yeah, they might return at World's End. Return after the tag team match at World's End, whoever they defend it against, return at World's End, and then they have basically January to build to the fight in February. Build it for 6 weeks into February, and there you go. There's your tag team title match. They may win it first time, they may not win it first time. We'll see. But this is designed for them to beat FTR at some point for the tag team.
Yeah, man. Moving on to another title within AEW. The inaugural champion, the inaugural AEW national champion was crowned. My bald brother Ricochet finally got a title around his waist. What did you think of this, man? I thought, you know what? He was not my pick to win this. He was not.
Who was your pick?
I thought it was going to be Shelton Benjamin. I honestly thought it was going to be
Shelton.
Do you know what? You know, me and you have spoken a lot of times recently. Me and you are very nostalgic wrestling fans. But we remember these guys coming, like gold standard. Shelton Benjamin is one of my favorite gimmicks ever in wrestling. Like,
yeah,
the things he was doing in ladder matches at that time were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved for Shelton Benjamin to win it, but yeah, wasn't too disheartened to see Ricochet win it, because I think he's put in a lot of work over the past few months. Done some great work versus the Hurt Syndicate. But yeah, wanted to get your thoughts on this as well, Max, because I can see you've got something that you want to get off your chest there. So I'll give the floor to you, bro.
Would you believe me if I told you Ricochet was my pick?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I'll show you my prediction sheet afterwards. He was my pick, and it was because on Wednesday at Dynamite, he came out. He was in the in that number one contenders type match with Bobby Lashley. The winner of the match comes out number one in the gauntlet match. He came out, he cut a promo, just chatting crap as Ricochet does, and then Lashley squashed him. Like, Lashley squashed someone that they've been building up and giving wins to and giving him his own faction and everything like that. Lashley squashed Ricochet in a matter of minutes on Dynamite. I said, that's it. They must be repaying him for this. They surely must be repaying him for this. So then we get to the pay-per-view, and when those two came out first, Shelton and Bobby, I thought, I'd love Shelton to win here. And then they basically did a lot of nothing for like 20 seconds. And then Ricochet came out third. I honestly watched the match like this, leaning back in my chair, because I felt like he's gonna win. He's going to win. He's gonna come out. He's talking some more rubbish. Then his faction came out. I actually think they went very early with the faction stuff. I wouldn't have minded if the faction played into him winning, but that was the one bit of doubt when the faction came out, and I was like, have they gone a bit early with this sort of thing? But I was very confident Ricochet was going to win this, because he just needs something. A lot of people thought that this belt was basically designed for Bobby Lashley. That Bobby Lashley's not going to win the world title. Let's put a belt on him, sort of thing. But I just felt like Ricochet had run his mouth enough about winning a title, becoming the champion in AEW, and after he got squashed on Wednesday, I was absolutely sold.
It was brutal as well. Like, let's be honest, it was brutal.
Yeah. I just thought
scream. I think I'm still hearing it in my nightmares. That scream of him getting thrown over the top rope, bro.
Like this, he's not like any talent from Ring of Honor to fight on a Wednesday night. This is Ricochet that you've been investing so much time in, and I just thought For him to be squashed like this, there's something like there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There's got
Mm.
to be, and there was. So yeah, overall, I thought the match was very very fun. I think one glaring thing that stood out to me was there is a lack of singles wrestlers that are not in factions. You had the Hurt
Yeah.
Syndicate guys represented. Obviously, you had Demand, Ricochet. You had loads of guys from Conglomeration in there. You had loads of guys from Death Riders in there. You had Don Callis family guys in there. Like it's like you have to be in a faction to it's like gang warfare. If you're not in a faction, then you might get caught slipping or something. Like
Gang warfare at AEW. I've never thought I'd hear the day, but here we are, man.
honestly, but it's it feels like that to a degree, which I think in a match like this, it really shows itself up, sort of thing. It really shows that everyone is in a clique. Like, where are the standalone guys? They're few and far between. Especially, those guys exist maybe at the top of the card and main event scene and stuff, but in the mid card, everyone is in a faction basically.
Yeah.
So maybe something to consider and stuff like that for booking purposes. Like so much so that the beginning of this match was two faction mates against each other. So yeah, maybe something to consider. But yeah, I'm happy Ricochet won. I think Ricochet has done some outstanding work. Like his main roster WWE run to compare to this, like his AEW Dynamite run, is night and day in terms of character work. He's still not a world champion. He hasn't like climbed up the card since coming up to AEW in that respect. But again, presentation is so much more better.
I think it's important as well because I think a lot of people, if they were to look at Ricochet's run, he was a champion at one point. He was the speed champion. Do you know what I mean? And I think to most people that would be enough. And I think the biggest thing for him, he said time and time again, was his booking. He wanted better booking, and I think at the beginning it didn't really look like he was going to be getting that in AEW. But it's just sometimes it's crazy how a heel turn can really just essentially light a rocket for some people, man. And I think he is someone who has taken this hill run and run with it. And he might not always get 30 minutes of TV time a week across matches and promos, but the time he does get, he utilizes it to his absolute best. And I think that's all he would have wanted in WWE. But now he's getting it in AEW, and he is really, really started to shine. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if he one day does win the world title in AEW. It honestly wouldn't surprise me, just because of if you were like you said, but prior to this match, he wasn't my pick to win this title. But now he's won it. It makes sense because essentially, if he did lose this, it would be like, what now? What does he? Where does he go from here? So I think I'm excited to see what he does with this title. Don't get me wrong, I still think AEW has far too many titles on for a roster. Far too many titles. But yeah, man, I think it's an exciting time for the roster there because as much as it's too much titles for us to keep track with, it's another title for these guys to be fighting for. And I think there's so much talent within their roster now. And to be fair to AEW, they've done a great job with building a lot of these guys. A lot of the people that were in the Casino Gauntlet as well. So I think, yeah, I think this is going to be another title that people really start to hone in on, and we see how things go from there, man.
Yeah, and regarding your point on the too many titles thing, because I don't need any nerd to start counting. Well, they've only got one more title than WWE or some other nonsense like that. Ultimately, my issue is too many titles in the same position, like a
Yeah.
TNT title, a national title, this unified title that Okada carries. Now we're gonna go and kind of bring back the Continental title because the Continental Classic is about to start. Like, we have too many of these mid card titles that are all at the same position and they're not really differentiated.
Yeah.
That's the issue more so than just a blanket. Yes, there is too many titles, but I think that is the main issue, that we can't even define these. Like, one of them should just live on Collision and that's it. We don't even see it on Dynamite. You see what I mean? Like, there's no differentiation. That's maybe more so the issue for myself. Shush Movement says here, I had someone from the Blackpool Combat Club winning, but I'm happy with Ricochet winning, currently doing the best work of his career. Yeah, it's night and day. His presentation, his character, how entertaining he is. Like he came out and he beat up MVP with a microphone. He done a bit of the Booker T gimmick from TNA while he's beating someone up. He's still commentating and all of that kind of stuff. Like he's just found himself, and maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. I am still desperate to see his wife with him, Samantha Irvin. I feel, and from what they have both said, that at best that's going to be in a year's time. That we're nowhere near seeing that. But like you said, someone that could potentially be a world champion, and we're going to talk about this when we get to the world championship picture, right? I think he can maybe win this, drop this title in the next year or so. Maybe win a trios title with the Demand, drop that. But I would love a little trinket, like having his missus next to him in the Demand as well on screen. Remember, this is why she left WWE, because she wanted to do more. She wanted to be on screen, wanted to be a talent. If she joins the Demand and she's like the X factor to him becoming a world champion, I'm here for it. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
someone that has always loved wrestling power couples, heel couples. Like I don't know, maybe it's the married guy in me. I like seeing that kind of romance, and but not like lovey dovey romance, like evil kind of
Yeah.
villain couple kind of stuff. Like I love seeing that in my wrestling from time to time. So if she is someone that can help propel her man to the world title, do it, run it. But like I said, that's not going to be at least for another year.
Do you know what? I think it's because of the era of wrestling we grew up on, bro. I think when you're looking at like the evil wrestling power couples that we had out there, from your Triple H and your Stephanies, etc., across the board. Because prior to sort of our era, it was always very love story, happy ending.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear about none of that.
none.
I don't want to hear about none of that. And what I want to hear about is the darkness that can really come out with these stories. I think Samantha Irvin would be someone who would be perfect to join the Demand, and really, I think they're great as they are. But it just seems for them to really step into the upper echelons of AEW. I think that's the missing piece there. Like you said, I think they win the trios titles, and I think that's what catapults him to the world title scene. But onto the man who I don't think will be in his leadership role within his faction for much longer. I think you said it on it might have even been the last podcast we did, or the one before that, Max. John Moxley taps out again.
You see, you see, Carell that does the HMRC of football.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to bring John Moxley to the stage at this point. We have to run the receipts, everything, because I can't understand. How long do you guys want me to wait? Because I think it's gonna happen, and I'm looking forward to it so much of it happening. We've spoken about it here. These guys need to bring John Moxley to the stage and be like, bro, what is going on? Like, what is happening here? Sort of thing. Like, we have to question him. If we're not going to question him directly, we need to start the whispers and stuff, in our little Death Riders layer in the car park or wherever it is that they
They've
congregate.
definitely started a second group chat without him already. That's my prediction.
Is it like we have to see that, because it has to be happening, especially like you said, on a night where maybe they didn't leave with gold and stuff like that per se, but they showed up well in their various matches and stuff like that. The rest of them, that is, right? And the one guy that loses, straight up loses, is the guy in charge.
Doesn't even lose, submits.
Again. Like, we have to call him to the stage. You have to be held accountable right now, Mr. John Moxley. I'm dying for them to kind of enter this storyline and we start seeing it, because it's the elephant in the room, honestly.
Ah, man. When Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, and we speak about these three guys being the predominant part of wrestling programming, and they have been for the past 5 to 10 years, this is when I think Moxley does his best work, is when his back is against the wall. And I think this is when we're really going to see what because he's never been afraid to put people over. And I think he's really starting to show it now. With these matches that he's losing, he's not just giving out wins for the sake of it. Someone like Kyle O'Reilly been needing a big win in AEW for a while now. I think adds to his story. The stuff with Darby Allin added to his story, and I think now it's just kick the guy out and let him go have a little bit of a rest, man, and let him come back as a face. I think that's where we're at with it. Bring him to the stand. Pac smacks him in the face with some sort of. Do you know what? Would not surprise me if Marina Shafir is the one to instigate the turn, because I think that would then catapult her even further.
Like, when would be the best time to do the turn?
This week, man. He's been tapping out He's been tapping out for time. What do you mean with the best time? Get it done, man. Get it done. You're like a waste man at the moment. What's going on, man?
I can't lie.
Tap out.
I'm not even like overly pressed right now. I'm not even overly pressed about the turn. I just want the whispers to begin. If you're not going to directly say something to him, I just want the whispers to begin, because I think
no one's saying nothing.
No one saying nothing is definitely questionable, because you lot aren't dummies. Daniel Garcia, you were losing to this man, and you basically said, if you can't beat him, join them. So for you now to be watching the guy that you're joining losing, you must have questions, surely. Like I said, I'm right now. I know that maybe there will be a turn and stuff within all of this, but I'm not even bothered by the turn. All I need right now is for the questions to be asked, and I don't know how long they'll take to do a turn or where that will be. Just obviously, you mentioned them turning, kicking him out, and him coming back as a face and stuff like that. Just on like a roster level or who's available right now, I don't think they can actually afford to do that. Swerve has obviously just come back, which we will talk about later, but I don't think there's enough top guy personnel, or there's clearly right now not even enough top level heels available. I don't think they can afford to get Moxley off TV. So this will maybe have to be a slow burn, a slow turn, but they've got to start asking the question, surely.
No, man, I think you've got a spot on there. Is even if it, bro, imagine you're at work, yeah, and your boss is performing at that level, and this is the guy that's meant to be in charge of you. Question marks start to be raised on his performance. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're meant to be the leader. You're meant to be showing these guys how it's done. You're meant to be, you know, the real sort of instigator of the darkness within the Death Riders. Do you know what I mean? Like forks, screwdrivers. Like it's almost like, what random thing can I bring to F people up with? Like John Moxley has brought it to the ring. So I think to go from that to be tapping out on a consecutive basis now, the question marks do need to be raised. And I think he's someone who he sold this story so well of being this like monster heel in a way that he will do anything to get the W done. And he will do like the Usyk F chants, like I think have been rung around AEW arenas a lot of times for him. So now we're at a time where, you know, I think he is going to end up getting kicked out. But you know what? I agree with you. I think it would be great to be a slow burner, potentially, maybe not at World's End, but maybe looking at Revolution next year. I think another great place would be slow burn it until then. Essentially, he's in a match for some sort of title for the team, and he ends up taking the pin or submit. Actually, I don't know if I can deal with him submitting again, but I think that would just be the end of it all. Like, I don't even think he could come back in any type of manner from that. But yeah, I think if he ends up costing them in the type of way, I think that's when he really starts to go out. But yeah, I think the whispers need to start soon, because even me, I'm looking at it and like, I half think I could fuck John Moxley up at this point.
I think World's End is a, you know, in the name, it's kind of apropos. If they start building the dissension now and the questions now, World's End, because of the name, could be somewhere where someone pulls the trigger on Moxley, you know, within Death Riders, that is. But it's very intriguing. Like, here, did you see Marina's face after Mox tapped? So when Mox left the ring, he almost kind of turned around and looked back at Kyle O'Reilly and showed some level of respect, a little head nod and everything like that.
Mm.
And I can't lie, at that point I was like, oh, that's brilliant, because now he's lost, he's tapped out, and he's showing the guy respect. No, someone take off his head. Like, we've lost our leader. This isn't how he behaves. You see what I mean? But then obviously I guess he saved it because he went back in to try and attack Kyle O'Reilly afterwards. Like we're saying, man, like questions need to be asked. Questions for sure need to be asked. What's this? The fourth submission or surrender in this year?
It's 3 and 3 pay-per-views, isn't it?
Kyle O'Reilly twice. Darby Allin, Hangman Adam Page. I'm not missing one, am I?
No, I don't think you are.
I think we're so up to 4 now. 4 in a year. Yeah.
He's on a Liverpool type run right now. He's on a Liverpool type run right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be Mox out very soon.
Bro, honestly, take note. This is what happens when you don't step up, man. Your team's gonna start turning on you, bro. But Bex, on to what I think was probably one of the matches of the night. Mark Briscoe finally, I don't want to say finally, because I think Carl Fletcher was a great champion, but Mark Briscoe managed to avoid joining the Don Callis family. I was actually shocked by this one. I thought they were going to somehow make it that he had to join the Don Callis family, and I would have been disappointed with that. But to see him holding up the TNT title was great, because I think Kyle O'Reilly, I think he would have had the most defenses ever as TNT champion if he was to defeat Mark Briscoe, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's why it was a bit of a shock for me. But yeah, man, I was gassed for Mark Briscoe, man. I even did a little bit of a Harry Kane celebration, little fist fight into the come on. Yeah, I was gassed for him, man. Because boy, does Don Callis family not need any more new members?
Honestly, like I think we were talking after the last pay-per-view, which I can't remember what it was now. When we last had Carl Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe, and I kind of almost watched that match last time through my fingers, because I said Carl Fletcher is gonna win, but Mark Briscoe is so close to winning this title, and I just like I want Briscoe to win, in the sense that because he's a good baby face. I want Carl Fletcher to move up the card and stuff like that, but I think at that time, for whatever reason, I just wasn't happy with Briscoe winning or beating Carl Fletcher for it. No, that's why I wasn't happy, because Fletcher just came out the world title program with Hangman. So I was like, he can't just come out of world title program, lose, and then the next pay-per-view lose to Mark Briscoe. So that's why I was shook. So then when they made the stipulation this time round of Mark Briscoe would join the Don Callis family, I knew that wasn't happening. They've just made a whole conglomeration Titron with looking like friends and stuff like that. I said this ain't happening, and I didn't mind Mark Briscoe winning here, sort of thing. And it came true. And you need to have these kind of feel good stories in wrestling from time to time, and at the same time, it moves Carl Fletcher along nicely to some other stuff. We're talking about a lack of top level heels that are not embedded into factions. He's obviously in a faction, Don Callis family, but he had a nice little segment later on in the night as well, kind of declaring himself for the Continental Classic. So the first 3 members of the Continental Classic are Okada, obviously going in there as defending champion, Carl Fletcher, and Takeshita, all members of the Don Callis family. You can see the problem that I was mentioning earlier rearing its head again, right? But like ultimately fantastic wrestlers. But yeah, I think it's time for Kyle, especially, to move along. This match was crazy. It was wild at times with some of the stuff these men done. I think, more importantly, it's good for Mark Briscoe. It's good for the conglomeration. It's time for Carl Fletcher to kind of assume a higher position on the card as well. But obviously, the Continental Classic will be, a really good showing for him, because he's a fantastic wrestler.
Do you know what? I think after this match, it really cemented for me. I think if I want anyone for Will Ospreay to defeat for the AEW World Title next, I want it to be Kylo. I want it to be Carl Fletcher. But do you know what? If you asked me a year ago, do I think Carl Fletcher could have the AEW World Champion? I probably would have laughed in your face. I thought it was always good, but it was just always like, can he really get there?
Mm.
Whereas now I am like so convinced this guy's like the future of the industry. Like, I think he's so good.
He is. He really is. I don't think he gets there soon. I think you mentioned Will Ospreay. I think Will Ospreay will beat MJF for the world title at Wembley next year. I think that's what we're doing.
We're gonna have to start writing down some of these predictions, Max. I think we're gonna have to start writing down.
Yeah, we have to make
keeping score.
Yeah, I think this is, and obviously we've sidetracked a bit, but I think at some point MJF is going to win this title next year, and Will Ospreay will return, and especially because they missed Wembley this year, it's going to almost feel like a homecoming next year.
Yeah,
the match that they had, was it? Yeah, it was the last Wembley show for not the US champion, the international championship, was it?
Yeah.
MJF versus Will Ospreay was fantastic. I think that's the way you go. MJF is the heel that Will Ospreay, the hometown boy, beats for the title. But when Will becomes champion, he can have a great match with Carl Fletcher. He can maybe drop the title to Carl Fletcher. Like, I don't think that's impossible. But I think Carl Fletcher's at least got a year to wait before he is really challenging for that world title, and we can believe he is someone that can actually win it. But in the meantime, he's got loads to do. Like, he's going to be here. This guy is 27, 28. He is going to be in wrestling for a very long time, winning world championships for a very long time. So we can take our time with that one.
Moving on to the money side of things, the money match of the night, $1 million trios match.
It just sounds bogus.
Do you know what it reminds me every time I hear it? Austin Powers. That's where it reminds. That's where it reminds me of. Every time I hear it. But the Young Bucks and Josh Alexander defeated Kenny Omega and Jurassic Express. Only for. Are the Young Bucks turned face again?
I mean, so they obviously won the match, like you said. They had the bags of money, the $1 million. Don Callis had them as well. Don Callis was trying to usher them out of the arena when the rest of the Callis family started beating up Kenny Omega. And then the Bucks effectively chose their friend, their longtime friend, over the money, dropped the money, and ran back into the ring. Now, my memory, I watched this today, but my memory is just gone. They ran back into the ring. I know they doled out some super kicks on the Don Callis family and stuff like that. How did this segment end?
They hugged. I think they reached out to shake hands with Kenny Omega, and then they hugged, and Kenny slapped their hand out of the way and hugged him. That's the way in which I remember it.
Oh,
it wasn't like a. So it was like a handshake, and it was just like, "Nah, fucking, come here, brother," because there is a lot of history there, and I think if there's ever a way to turn someone back face, I think it's involving Kenny Omega in that. But yeah, I'm not really convinced that this is a full face turn from them yet. I think they end up. I'm not fully convinced. I don't know.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, Max, very quickly. Your boys are getting beaten up in the ring. You leaving the $1 million and running back, or you running off with $1 million, bro?
I actually have to think, would my boys want me to leave them in hands and where's the $1 million sort of thing? Then yeah, we might all just be leaving broke. So
injured.
Broken injured, terrible combination.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think I'm excited to see Jurassic Express together. I'm excited that the Young Bucks are now sort of seem to be on its turn as well. But again, this is 2 more tag teams that you could add into that World Tag Team title picture. If obviously the stuff with Edge and Christian doesn't come to fruition, there's another couple of avenues you can go down. But moving on to the,
I would love for them to bury the hatchet, the Elite guys, and maybe win a trios title again together.
Yeah,
the Bucks and Kenny Omega, because I mean we know Kenny's not in the best of condition. Like Kenny's wrestling like every 3 months at this point. Yeah, like so maybe if they have like one last run as a trios team sort of thing, that would be nice as kind of like a send-off sort of thing.
I think them coming out to the Elite theme with with Young Bucks returning to their old sort of entrance music, the confetti and everything else.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, before they turned heel, that was on my gym playlist. Like that I used to love that tune just because of I remember how many big moments they had with that Super Kick Party song, and sort of a lot of predominant moments within AEW were aligned with that song as well. So I
Yeah.
think that's why it was very great for me. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see what the future holds here because, like you said, I don't see it being a long term thing because of the condition of Uncle Kenny. I think we've maybe got a year, maybe 2 years max of sporadic appearances for Kenny Omega before he retires.
Mhm.
And I don't think anyone can be too disheartened with that just because of the work the guys put in at the end of the day. But like I said earlier, moving on to the women's world championship side of things. Who did you have for this one? Because I thought Mercedes was finally going to get the job done,
Oh no.
and then she didn't again.
No,
She
I
don't
had
need no more titles.
I had stat just on the basis of she basically kind of just won that title, so she hasn't even held it for too long. Um, I don't think Mercedes is full. Like in terms of her hunger, is she's full with all these other titles. I think this is what makes what she's doing somewhat incredible. In terms of she's gonna go all around the world, she's gonna pick up all these other kind of rinky dink world titles and stuff like that, and she's gonna keep coming to the AEW World Championship and losing. Like she's not gonna get the job done, sort of thing. And I don't think she's ever gonna get the AEW World Championship until she drops all of these titles. If you start seeing her drop all of these titles back next year, the AEW World title is coming soon. Maybe she wins it at Wembley in August next year.
Mm.
But
I think
I
Wembley is
don't
a
think
great
she
place
wins
for her
it.
to win it.
Yeah, I don't think she's winning the AEW World title until she drops all of these. And at the same time, if I'm Tony Khan, I don't mind kind of stroking her ego and letting her carry all of these other random belts on my show. But when she's carrying the AEW Women's World Championship, I don't want her carrying all these other kind of, because it lessens the AEW Women's World Championship if she's carrying it with all of these other kind of rinky dink titles. And I'm sorry to put it that way, but it is what it
It's just
is.
fact.
You see what I mean? Yeah. So like you can do that for now to kind of, show how brilliant you are and great you are. But the AEW Women's World Championship is the ultimate hurdle. But if you want to win that title, get rid of all these other stuff. Get all of these other little kind of,
Is it 14 she's at now?
yeah. No, 13, I think she's at.
At the end of the day, they're going to need to find a way to have her bringing all of these titles out. That's going to be a safe way because carrying 13 titles around is not a very it's got to be
But
quite straining on her. Do you know what I mean?
she
She's
doesn't
going to
carry
have a
them
tro-
anymore. You haven't seen these oiled men that are carrying her titles for
Yeah,
her?
but do you know what I mean? I think she's got all these oiled men carrying these titles, and it's just like I think it's like you said, you don't want the AEW Women's title to be carried by some other baby old man.
Yeah.
Be carrying it. I think it's got to be the predominant title. I think she goes. I think the way for her to win is for her to go on a crazy losing streak across the Indies. I
Mhm.
think she loses a few matches on the Indies, drops down to say the final two, loses the final two in a big match, comes back to AEW. Maybe there's some sort of casino match where she ends up winning that to go on to Wembley. I think that's the way you've got to play it out. Whereas I think that the chase to that title has got to be so predominant now because of the amount of time she's failed to get there. I think
Yeah.
it's got to be. It can't just be a flash in the pan. Oh, she wins a number one contenders fatal four-way match. She then ends up winning the title the next match. It can't be like that. I think they've really got to hone in on this and make it be a great story.
To your point, the crash should begin now. The crash
Yeah.
should begin like she's just lost another championship opportunity at the AEW Women's World Championship. She lost one earlier this year to Tony Storm. It's like, why can't I get over this hill? Like, and it should depress her. It should make her very concerned. She goes into her next match, maybe the Rev Pro title defense, and she loses. Oh my God, she's lost one of the 13. She's down to 12. And it's literally like that, Humpty Dumpty fell on the wall, and then one by one they just keep falling. Sorry, what is it? It's the rolling in a bed. Everyone rolls out the bed. Like, it's literally like that. One by one, she just keeps dropping them, because to get to August with no titles, like, bro, she has 12 or 13. Sorry,
She's got a lot of time.
she's got to start losing. To tell the exact story that we're saying, she has to have all of those titles dropped, ideally by about Double or Nothing, which is what, May, so that they still have, the best part of 3 months to build her and get her back into the title picture for the AEW Women's World Championship in August. If they plan to put the title on her, I think really she has to get rid of all these titles, and if they're going to do that, probably needs to get it done by May.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't want it to be a quick thing. I want it to be almost how they've done with the Young Bucks, where they had them coming out in dirty suits, and they really started to show like that they were down bad. I think that's how it's got to be with her. Like, maybe have what would be great is, like, when she's down to like her last few titles, maybe not have the men oiled as such, maybe more reasonably shaped. Like, do you know what I mean? Maybe not the 8-pack oiled men coming out, maybe just, pulling a couple guys up from the crowd holding these titles that they've looked like they've brought out for her. And I think that would be a much greater way to tell the story. I think there's so many avenues in which we can get there. I think it just depends on how AEW really want to, pull the trigger with this story and get her to that world title, because it is inevitable at the end of the day, isn't it? I think it's one of those things where I don't think a lot of people are going to be shocked on the day when it does finally happen, but we don't want it to be a sort of a nothing story, because something in which I'll hold my hands up and say, like, I've been very vocal about how great AEW have been with telling stories over, especially this past year. So I'm really excited to how this pans out. But onto the men's world championship side of things, and another great story being told here. The man that me and Mex spoke so highly of a few weeks ago extended the podcast about 20 minutes over than what we planned it to be. He defeated Hangman Adam Page via a very surprising turn, I would say, from Hook. Mex, I'll give you the floor, because it seems like you've got something to say. I can see you grinning.
I think, like you said, we spoke about Samoa Joe at length, maybe a couple of weeks ago at this point, and he's brilliant. Like, break glass in case of emergency. Samoa Joe comes out reliable. He can turn heel, believable, violent. Like, he is one of these people that have ultimately seemingly got the short end of the stick when it comes to their wrestling career. No matter how much as fans we all love him, he just seems like accolade wise, it hasn't really happened for him. And at the same time saying that, I don't think this is going to be like a long run. I think this will probably be another kind of 2 to 3 month run, like his first AEW world title reign. But I think the bigger issue here for me is this shows the lack of heels that we have produced for Hangman. Hangman and baby faces in general, we talk about Cody Rhodes being not interested in WWE, right? It's hard to be a babyface champion in this day and age. It's flipping hard, man. Like, I think Hangman has suffered because there hasn't really been that line of heels ready for him. They had to pull Carl Fletcher into the program that he had, because Carl Fletcher, from rumors and reports, wasn't meant to be the guy that had that match. It was meant to be someone else. I can't remember.
I think it was Kenny, wasn't it? But Kenny couldn't.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
I don't know if it was meant to be a heel, but I think he was meant to face Kenny, but Kenny just
wasn't up to it. Maybe, but yeah, Carl Fletcher wasn't meant to be the guy, and Carl Fletcher went out that night, TNT champion, put on a fantastic match, lost obviously. They've went to the well with Samoa Joe now twice. Now, the story, how they got there to have that first match by just bumping into each other, fine, fine. But the story they've told since then hasn't really been riveting or anything like that. But TK has taken a massive gamble, which I will respect him for, because in this day and age, of the belief that, like, world title reigns need to last 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Roman Reigns, like
Mm.
we can do quick title reigns. 6 months I think is fine. Some people even say 3 to 4 months, like it was kind of back in the Attitude Era. You get the title for 3 months, you're good. You hand it over to the next guy.
It keeps things fresh as well, doesn't it?
100%. Like, so I think that's the good thing in this. It's surprising because I don't know anybody that said that Joe was winning tonight.
I didn't believe. I think I was. It was one of them. You know me, man. Big Samoa Joe fan. Samoa Joe fan. If I was to put my predictions on a sheet, I would have said I would have lost my mind if Samoa Joe won, but I would never have predicted it. Like, I was gassed to anyone. I'll be real. I was gassed. But that's me being a fan. That's not me reacting to the story as such. That's me reacting to what I feel like was almost him getting one final world title run before he eventually ends up retiring.
Yeah. And again, big up Joe, because this is a man that when he was in WWE was basically done. He was doing GM stuff and he was, helping them scout talent from colleges and stuff like that. They weren't using him as an active wrestler. He was basically done. And now he went to AEW and he's, started again basically. And I think, like I say, the problem is there's a lack of heel talent. Now, there are heel talents. They're all in factions. Takeshita is IWGP champion, so he can't necessarily lose. Okada is this Continental Unified champion. He can't necessarily lose. Carl Fletcher lost TNT champion. Fair enough. There's obviously some other guys in the Don Callis family which aren't of that main event level yet, so we won't even bother naming them. Moxley in Death Riders, he beat him for the championship, so fair enough. And then you're probably saying no one else is Moxley level, main event level in the Death Riders just yet. Conglomeration are full of baby faces. Cool. Hurt Syndicate. Bobby Lashley is the valid answer, really. For whatever reason, they don't want Bobby Lashley to lose. They want to protect Bobby Lashley. Maybe Bobby Lashley doesn't want to lose. That wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility, because we've heard of these WWE guys to go to AEW and they don't want to do the job. Like, there isn't Hangman losing for me isn't necessarily the problem. Holding the title for only 6 months, like some people will complain about, that's not a problem for me. Samoa Joe winning isn't a problem for me. I think it's just like we've had to go back to the well of Samoa Joe, because none of you lot are ready. None of you lot are prepared to lose. None of you lot are believable. None of you lot are bring main event energy like Samoa Joe. So we've had to go back to Samoa Joe. And I think that's the concern as opposed to anything else.
Do you know what I think it also does as well? I think it just ended up heightening how important it was for Swerve to come back. Mm-hmm. I think like the reaction he got, and it sort of, the light bulb almost went on for me, like, I didn't realize how much they've been missing Swerve Strickland in AEW until he came out.
Yeah.
And I think he is, I've had a conversation with a couple of my friends, and I think Hangman ends up becoming a heel again, because I think he's a great face, but I think he was such a good heel when he was, man. I think the stuff with him and Swerve, I think if you were to ask me like my favorite rivalries over the past few years, I think that sits very, very in the top 5. I think it was so great. Here's my problem with it. The Hook turn, I've been wanting Hook to turn for a while, but I've been like, is this the way to do it? And does it really help him in the long run? Because again, the question I think we raise with WWE a lot. So I want to keep the odds even here. What now? Mm-hmm. What does he do? He's turned, but it's like, what happens from here with him? Does he go into a trios title run again? Because we've already been down that route. Does he go on a tag title run? I think it's very stacked in the tag team division at the moment. So I think we're now at a time where, as much as it's great for Joe, I think the person who's really going to actually lose out in the long run from this is Hook.
Yeah, like I think it's good for Hook to turn. Very interesting, because even in all of the whole melee just before the match finished, you saw Eddie Kingston come out, who Hook is currently aligned with. Then Hook comes out to try and save it. He tries to kind of wake up the referee, and then does the turn, hits Hangman with the title. Someone mentioned to me that Hook was part of, I think, the number one contendership match, right? Where Samoa Joe won, saying that Hook wasn't trying to win it, that Hook's been back with the Ops since then, which I think could be really good storytelling if they tell that story on TV. But yeah, Hook needs something to do for sure. I mean, I've said before, I've lobbied for Hook to go and join NXT, because at least he'll get some dedicated, focused time on him, on his character. This developmental, he has time to grow, because he hasn't really done that growing bit on TV and Dynamite on AEW TV for a while now. So I think NXT would be good for him. But let's give this run in the Ops a second go and see what it does for Hook. But yeah, I think we need to kind of question, same way we kind of look at it in WWE. Probably, again, it's from a negative point of view. Why is everyone so old in the title picture and stuff like that? Samoa Joe, like we said, he's an elder statesman. As brilliant as he is, as much as we love him, as much as fans in attendance love him, like, people need to look at themselves and think, why can't I get to that level? Why am I not as believable as Joe? Why have they had to go back to a 40-something-year-old Joe when there are loads of us here? And people have to look introspectively and look at themselves. And AEW also needs to look at themselves and be like, why aren't we building the next guys to start leaving these factions? To let Takeshita leave Don Callis' family. Let's tell that story a bit quicker. This Carl Fletcher new wrinkle of him wanting to go against Okada, it's interesting now as well. So yeah, the guys are there. It's Bobby Lashley. Like, Bobby Lashley could have faced Hangman and lost. It's not gonna, it's not the end of the world. Bobby Lashley, you're not gonna die if Hangman beats you. You know what I mean? Like, but it doesn't seem like they want Bobby Lashley to lose. At the same time, they don't want him to win the singles title, clearly, because they could have done that as by now. So it's very weird. The people are there, but they just got to pull the trigger and do it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I see a tweet this morning, and it was a picture of CM Punk and Samoa Joe fighting for, I think it was the Ring of Honor title in 2005.
Yeah.
We're 20 years on from that, and they're both still in the world title picture.
They're both world champions.
Not
even just in the picture, they're holding the belts.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I think, I'm a big Joe fan, but I agree with you, man. I think it's one of those things where there's so much potential, especially in AEW, more so than WWE, where they've got these great young stars that I think are going to go on to do great things and become world champions one day. Why not just pull the trigger early? Why not just get it done? Like, why not just get it done? And if you want to take the title of Hangman, fair enough. I don't necessarily think this needs to be a long reign from Joe. I think if there's a way to sell this in a good way, maybe the Ops turn on him in the long run. But I don't. They need to start doing something with these young stars, or it's going to get to the point where they book themselves into a corner, because, like you said, they've got so many factions with so many young stars. I could probably name 10 off the top of my head who could be in a world title picture. They may not necessarily have to win, but they could have a match and it would then elevate them. You don't need to be going back to these older statesmen all the time, because it's just going to get to the point where people become tired and they become disinterested in the newer talents. And I think that could end up happening to them, but we'll wait and see, because I think, like I said, I've really enjoyed AEW, especially over the past year. And I think they've done some great things and they've told some really great stories. And I think, I'm going to give TK the benefit of the doubt. And I think a lot of people will be shocked to say that, as I've not always been vocal of my support for TK. But yeah, I think if you were to say to me who's had the better year, I don't think there's even a question.
There isn't.
I don't think there is no question about it. Before we leave, I want to say, this week's SmackDown was probably the worst SmackDown I've seen in a long time, and that is fucking saying something. what I know we're leading into a pay-per-view, but just we go from a Raw, which I think was one of the best Raws post-Mania, to one of the biggest, like 2.5 to 3 hours of trash where they're trying to tell a story. Logan Paul's got his lines written on his hand. And I think, do you know what? If this is probably my face turn to AEW now, like I'm fully locked in with AEW more so than ever. And I think the only person I can blame for this is Triple H.
I obviously Triple H is to blame. He's the one that okays all these stories and stuff like that. It's not that I'm giving them a bly, but this is what I expect when they keep just throwing people together just to do war games. Like, make it make sense. Like, these women, like, okay, Cody had a very good promo on SmackDown, kind of all G'd up, bloody, all annoyed, saying War Games is his birthright because obviously his dad was so involved in the creation of War Games, and really selling the war element. That's the first time I felt like, no, these guys hate each other and they're going to war. Cool, right? And then the women came out in the main event and were all like hugging each other and war games, like, can't wait to war games on the weekend.
Can't wait to War Games on the weekends.
Bro,
War Games with the girlies this weekend.
Yeah, war games. Like, can we sell the fact you guys are going to get in a cell to basically kill each other? Can we sell that, please? Like, what the hell is all this love, hugs, and rubbish that you guys are doing? Like, so there were parts that I didn't really like. The fact there was no women's match on SmackDown, that got me annoyed because it's like, why not? Jade, our new champion, just had a little quick backstage segment running into Chelsea Green. Two people that were never going to see each other again, by the way. Like, never going to see each other again. So, like, why? What's the point in that? Like, there was stuff that was okay. Like, I wasn't maybe as harsh as yourself, but ultimately, War Games is in the way. War Games is just in the way, and it's meaningless. Like, it's absolutely meaningless, these teams and everything like that. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not letting them off the hook, but it's what I've come to expect when you just are giving us meaningless program. You remember back in the day when Saudi shows didn't mean anything?
Yeah.
Like, it was like it almost wasn't part of the regular programming, but we had to just put together some matches for these Saudi shows back in 2018 and stuff like that.
And Strowman won a title for winning the Royal Rumble type of thing.
Yeah,
I remember that times.
This is how it feels. This is kind of how it feels. Like, we just have a pay-per-view here that we just need to build to. Forget everything we've been doing around, the storytelling and everything else on the show. We just have to satisfy this pay-per-view and move on. And it's annoying, but that's where we are with it. But Raw's
There's got to be a turn in that match. There has to. Like, the only way they can save the closing out of this year is if they have a turn in that match.
Who are you thinking?
Who I think is going to. I think they've got to turn Jey Uso at some point, man. They have to turn him at some point. I don't care how much merch the geezer's selling, man. I don't care how much.
You shouldn't, because you're a fan. You shouldn't care. That's the truth of the matter. Personally, unless Jey Uso is winning the title, I don't care if he turns. If he turns, what's he gonna do? Like, that's the problem. What is the follow up? Him turning, like they did with John Cena. Him turning was the climax of his turn. Like, they clearly didn't write anything after he
beginning,
turned.
middle, and end. Yeah.
So this is, for me, it's like, if Jey Uso is turning, what are we doing with him when he turns? Because if we're not going to do nothing with him, let him just stay as a babyface with his brother. I'd rather you put them back in a tag team, to be completely honest, than turn him without a plan.
If they're going to keep them as a tag team, just very quickly before we go off, did you see who reunited last night?
Yes, I did on Triple H show. Yeah.
The Lucha Bros reunited.
Yeah. I mean, it's not on WWE TV, so I don't know how much that will count for anything. Because
they looked like they were very angry at each other. For a pair of brothers, there was a lot of like.
Yeah. I mean, the wars that those two have had against each other in the past have been brilliant. But yeah, AAA TV, there is still, it's like another universe, because over there, Natty Neidhart is Natty, and she's Natalia, still on WWE TV with two completely different gimmicks. Like, so I would like to see them come back over to WWE as the Lucha Bros and go after tag team gold and be the best tag team that WWE have ever seen, because they are. But Penta is still in this John Cena tournament. Ray Phoenix is about to have a Survivor Series 5-way match
on SmackDown.
On SmackDown, they're in different universes basically. So yeah, this might just be a AAA link up, or we'll see.
But again, yeah, go like just that all for me just signifies the point. AEW are knocking it out the park at the moment with a lot of what they're doing, and WWE just seem to be in this crossroads of. I know what you mean with War Games. War Games kind of feels like it's just the filler to get towards the road to WrestleMania now.
Mm-hmm. It's just something there, and that's the only benefit, the only advantage, the only pro that I can take from it. We are getting closer to WrestleMania. We're getting closer to the end of the year. We're getting closer to Royal Rumble. So it's just like, okay, just tick on the calendar. Let's get War Games out of the way. Get the road to WrestleMania on the way. But yeah, we'll see. AEW, we'll see how World End looks next month. But they've done a really great job. TK has made a really gutsy, ballsy move with taking the world title of Hangman, putting it on Samoa Joe. Although Samoa Joe is trusted, like we've mentioned, it's just something very different. So yeah, he's got Swerve back, which is going to be it's a big return, because when him and Will Ospreay went off TV at the same time because of their injuries, yeah, the writers must have been panicking. Like, dealing with one of them gone is something, but two of your top 3 baby faces with those two and Hangman Adam Page gone, it's a lot. So they've got one of them back now. We'll see if they can kind of start creating more of a division within the Don Callis family to kind of release some of the guys in there, and the Death Rider situation that we talked about today. Got to get that bobbling as well, because I think that's some good stuff there as well. But creatively, they've done a really good job this year, and I think it showed through on this show as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to end it, Max, because I think AEW have really I think the thing that is going to be the question that everyone asks now is how do they react from this Hangman loss? Is what does it mean for the rest of the roster? And I think Swerve coming back is the perfect time. They're not going to want to keep doing the Hangman stuff. Do I think Swerve stays as a face for a long period? I think he has to. I think they are so short in, like you said, as much as they're short in the predominant heels, they're just as short in terms of baby faces as a whole. Like these people in the top levels of booking, top levels of pools. So I think I'm excited to see how this title one goes for Joe. But the thing I'm most excited for, I'm excited to see Swerve Strickland back, because I've been a fan of this for a very long time, and I think when that guy gets on the mic and steps in the ring, I think he really brings his A game every time.
Yeah, and to the point we're saying about TK being brave in moving the world title about, more frequent. Again, we could be looking at a year, from what we've predicted here today, of maybe early next year, Swerve wins the title from Joe, Hangman wins the title from Swerve, MJF wins the title from Hangman, and then maybe Will wins it towards the end of the year. Like, we could be seeing more frequent titles, because at this point, all of these men have already won the title. So we don't need, 300-day runs with the title or anything like that. We can have a second title run for each of them to kind of cement, okay, no, these guys are proper. They're the real deal. They're the main event. Whereas Will, they've been telling us for the last 2 years that this guy is the best in the planet, and he's never won it. So
yeah,
I think we need to get to that. And we're talking about top level heels. MJF is the top level heel. He's not the heel that people love or anything like. Well, people love him, but like, he's the heel that we boo and think, no, that we detest this
people
guy.
love to hate him, right?
Yeah. So he's the guy that is going to be the one that really christens the new world champion, the new first time world champion in Will Ospreay, I think. But everything else in between that could be basically world champions losing it to other former world champions.
No, and I think that's a great place to end it. But yeah, I'm excited for the day Will Ospreay finally gets there. But in a as much as it's been because of injuries and stuff, you probably say so. I think it almost adds that extra layer to him finally becoming world champion, doesn't it?
For sure. And in Wembley, the roof is gonna come off the place.
Even when he came out as a heel, like people were cheering the hell out of him.
Honestly, he's so loved. Like TK better. I know he's a billionaire, but he better start saving his money for all of the pyro that has to go off that night when Will wins the world title in Wembley. Like it's gonna be something. But yeah, I think we got that to look forward to next year. I hope everyone enjoyed this kind of AEW Full Gear review and what we learned from it and how the card is shaping up, how the storytelling and the program is shaping up. I think it was quite interesting to see once you look at it in total how well they've kind of done this year and the direction that they could be going in the future. Del, do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah, Del Tepic on all my socials. You can catch me speaking about wrestling, football, various different things, but mainly it seems to be talking negative things about WWE at the moment.
Because they deserve it.
Yes,
they absolutely deserve it. And yeah, WrestleManiac UK on all the socials. Again, if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button for more. Hype the video if you're watching it on your mobile, and of course, like the video as well. If you're watching or listening, on your podcast platform of choice, then leave us with a 5-star review. We'll be back with more podcasts diving into this wrestling world that we live in very, very soon. See you in the next one.